Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news. Today we have Miss Teen Crypto joining us on today's stream. She's been in crypto for 4 years and first got introduced to it back when she was 13, 14. And since then, she's been researching it, learning about it, and posting and making live streams every single day. So if you've not heard of Miss Teen Crypto, make sure to go to her Twitter, her YouTube, and check her out. But we are going to be digging into see what she thinks about the latest cryptocurrency news today and about what she thinks about the general cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin's been very volatile today. But thank you very much, Randy, for tuning in and joining us today. We very much appreciate it. We are going to be talking about the SEC and their impact on crypto, Bitcoin ETFs, and what's going on in Argentina as well. So lots to dive into today. Anyway, how are you, Randy?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to collab with you, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's see what's going on. First of all, today in the chat, Randy says, different Randy in the chat says, yay, Jess and MTC together. Bitcoin's got to rise now. Yes, it does. If you do want Bitcoin to rise, make sure to hit that like button on today's stream. It will help Bitcoin go to the moon. Let's see what's going on here with the price of Bitcoin. Let's share the screen today. Not that one. Let's see if we can find the right one. Here we go. What we've got is Bitcoin currently trading at $36,975. Biggest gainers of the day. We've got BNB, Maker, Huobi, and Helium there as well. So big changes in the markets today. What do you think of the markets right now before we get into the cryptocurrency news, Randy?
You know, I just think this is normal where Bitcoin, it starts to incite a little FOMO above 30K. And then, of course, they try to come out with FUD to shut it down. And just if you look back to February of this year, where they were coming after Kraken again, and Kraken settled $30 million with the SEC over staking, it's the exact same thing, because in February, we were recovering from the November to January drop from FTX. Bitcoin was over 20K. We were starting to make some moves. And then they were like, all right, let's FUD this space. And they're doing the exact same thing now. They're trying to make it seem like they're going to wipe out Binance. They're going to wipe out Kraken, when these are both heavily compliant companies. So I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And right now in the markets, things have been pretty volatile and we are at a major level of resistance as well. If we quickly go to the weekly chart, we will be doing some more Bitcoin analysis at the end of today's stream. We are kind of skipping to the end quite a bit here, but we will come back to this. We do have a major level of resistance here that we used in the previous bull market. So we are saying we are attacking that within the last couple of days. And we obviously are going to see some resistance from that as well. On the shorter time frames, you can see we've had a massive bounce here in the last couple of hours. So we will keep tuned on that and checking in with the price of Bitcoin throughout today's stream. Just seen in the live chat that we have had a $50 donation from Retro Mike Tech. Thank you very much for that donation. That's the biggest one we've had here on Crypto Saving Expert. I believe this is this. I saw a live stream of you, Randy, this morning. Is this the same guy?
Yes, it's the same one. Yeah.
That is very generous. Thank you very much.
He is. He's also very chaotic. So, you know.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Oh, gosh. Another chaotic one in the chat, too. Sorry about the chaos. I apologize for them.
And another live chat here as well. You shush and you shush and you shush. Zesty Gang has arrived. Mike, did you get her a lighthouse? Big day. All your streamers are coming over to Crypto Saving Expert. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. We need to talk about what's going on in the cryptocurrency news. Now, first, we are going to be talking about what's happened with the SEC. Now, the SEC have done some crazy things within the last year. We are seeing that Binance is facing a historic penalty as the Department of Justice settlement talks suggest over $4 billion. We're just going to run through these news stories quickly and then we'll go into more detail about each one. We have seen the SEC also charge Kraken for failure to register and commingling customer funds. We're seeing Bittrex Global have to wind down after a $24 million fine from the SEC. It's all absolutely crazy. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen the SEC come towards the cryptocurrency space. None of them managed to notice what was going on in FTX towards the end of last year. FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried were working closely in the US with all of these regulators, and they didn't manage to see something was going on there. And now they are trying to kind of save face and say, look, we are actually looking at the cryptocurrency space. Look, we're charging all of these centralized exchanges. Woo, we're doing our job. But they are not. It's just not working. And they are unfortunately pushing cryptocurrency companies offshore. We've seen, well, they're attempting to anyway. We've seen Coinbase have tried to cooperate continuously with the SEC and the regulation in the US, over years and years and years. In fact, they tried to create their own framework to determine whether they can list tokens on their exchange or not, because the SEC and regulators were refusing to do so and still refuse to do so. And they still decided to charge Coinbase and come after Coinbase, a company that's trying to follow the rules when they're not there or clear. So it's been an absolute mess in terms of US regulation of cryptocurrency within the last year. Randy, with the US regulators clamping down on crypto, how do you think this will affect the industry in the long term?
In the long term, I don't think it affects it at all. Crypto's international. It's a global financial system at this point. And I think everything that's going on in the United States is only temporary because they care about dollar dominance. If you look at the FTX trials and every time they have a hearing and they talk about crypto, it's all about dollar dominance, where they're scared that people are actually doing now, taking millions, if not billions and trillions worldwide out of the banks every single day and buying crypto with it because they feel a lack of security with the banking system and with TradFi, with the dollar in general, with inflation. I think especially with Gary Gensler, we know he's a crypto bro. 2018 MIT classes, 2019 Bloomberg conferences, also trying to be an advisor at Binance pre-SEC chairman position. So we know he loves Bitcoin. We know he loves crypto, especially Algorand. So for him to come after it now, especially when there's no basis, there are no rules, it's just unjustified, and they know it's unjustified, and we'll move past it and crypto will bloom and it'll be beautiful. But it's just not now.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I think with regulation as well, it has been that this is a problem that we were going to face at some point in time. It's a new industry. Regulation was going to come. I don't think it's come at necessarily a bad time. It's big enough to withstand all of these threats from the regulators. And it came during the bear market where things were going to go down anyway. It would have been much worse if we were seeing all of this news at the top of the bull market, because it would have really impacted it a lot more. But throw anything else in the bear market, we'll deal with it. And then the bull market will still come around, I think, at this point in time.
Exactly.
We have seen tokens being listed as securities in SEC filings before against centralized exchanges. We saw a number of tokens being listed as being named as a security by the SEC when they created filings against Binance and Coinbase. And we've now seen Algo, Matic, Near, and a number of other coins being labeled as securities in the SEC's filings against Kraken. Now, what do you think? How do you think this will impact these tokens in the bull market? Because when they listed the first set of tokens with the Binance and Coinbase filings, I think for the high cap coins, it had a small effect. I'm talking like 5-10% from what I remember initially off the back of that news. And then they kind of just acted as if it hadn't occurred. I think the smaller market cap coins that did get listed as a security have kind of been capped, and they haven't moved to the upside as much as they would have done had they not been named as a security. But I don't think it's had as much of an effect as people first thought. I think it first created a lot of fear with that first set. But now with this new set of tokens being labeled as a security, what do you think this means for the long term and in the bull market for these tokens?
I honestly don't think it means much because, again, Gary Gensler, there is no regulation. Like, what is a digital asset in the United States? What it classifies as a security versus a commodity? There literally are no answers. And technically, I think he would have to prove this in court if I'm not mistaken. So all of these things that he's saying has literally no impact, because if you look at like the coins that EDX exchange wants to list, and this is like a Fidelity backed exchange, and a lot of US investors, what's on it? Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, I believe too. And last time I checked, 3 out of 4 of those were not named a commodity nor a security. There's also a PayPal stablecoin regulated on top of Ethereum. Is Ethereum a commodity? We don't know. So it's just like all these things again are like thrown up in the air without explanation. And that's why I think it's just going to be passed by at one point, because Gary's going to look at these and be like, oh, they're not securities. Because at the end of the day, you can't classify crypto as a commodity or a security because it encapsulates a financial system, being your own bank, like, actually being able to transact peer to peer, being a store of value, yet also being able to transfer information. It's just too much to classify into one category. And that's where they're struggling.
And what do you think about XRP not being listed in this lawsuit against Kraken? Is this a sign that they just know that they are completely wrong with this? Do you think the regulation and the categorization of these assets is going to improve in 2024? Are we going to see some understanding and guidelines to determine whether assets are securities or not, and whether the SEC should regulate them?
I think XRP wasn't even named in this because it's too much of a spicy subject for Gary right now, because he's in the middle of this lawsuit technically with XRP. It hasn't closed yet. So I think if he mentions it, that means he's going to have to give answers. And that's the exact opposite of what he wants to do. I think XRP is going to end up taking the W. I mean, like, what else like do they have? Especially because all of these bankers are working with them within the United States. They've been planning all these partnerships for years, and then you have them working internationally, and the World Economic Forum loves them, and that's really all you need to know. So XRP is going to be fine. I think Ripple is going to be fine. I mean, is the overarching goal of Ripple great and XRP great? No, I don't like CBDCs. I don't like private ledgers. I don't like their mission. But do they deserve to be called a security? I don't think so. I don't think it makes sense.
I completely agree with that. We do have that Martini guy in the chat saying Miss Teen Crypto is a legend. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. I agree with what you've got to say there. Now, I've got a question for you here, which is, obviously we are both very bullish on the long term of Bitcoin. We both work in cryptocurrency and have done for a very long time, and think Bitcoin will do very, very well over the next 10 years and after that. But what do you think the space will look like when it comes to centralized exchanges in 10 years' time? A lot of these exchanges are currently being targeted by regulators. Hopefully we can move past this and move on. But what do you think will happen in 10 years' time? Will Binance and other exchanges be facilitating the majority of transactions, or will they get pushed out of the way from layer 2 solutions and decentralized exchanges? It's hard to see a world where people come into crypto and immediately use self-custody. Maybe ETFs will hold a huge percentage of Bitcoin and other leading tokens. It's very difficult to determine what could happen here in the next 10 years. And it's also hard to see the centralized exchanges being allowed to continue to push this and be leading the space in that way.
Yeah, I think exchanges are going to change a lot in the future. I mean, you could look at 10 years ago. What exchanges were really here? Probably Coinbase was just starting, Mt. Gox. So we've seen a lot of exchanges come and go, but after exchanges come and go, there's always somebody better. There's always more coming out of the woodworks. I think Binance and Coinbase really have stood the test of time. I think they're always going to be around. I think there's also going to be like the EDX competitors that are like these institutions that are creating their crypto exchanges where, maybe they're going to be for institutions. I know institutions, when it comes to like paperwork, tax, whatever, it probably is better for them to go custody with an exchange that's regulated, that's trusted, and safer for them in their eyes that they don't take that self custody. It's on the books, whatever it may be. So institutions, I think exchanges will play a big role in. As for retail, I think there's going to be a lot of like institutionalized exchanges that become retail as well. But I think people are always going to want to take self custody because at the end of the day, I still do think there's a lot of like financial crises that are going to happen. I think people are forgetting about the beginning of the year where we had at least 5 bank failures in the US. And when has that happened? Probably since 2008. You see other banks in other countries in Europe struggling as well because of the ripple effects that happened here in the United States. What if one big bank goes down? What happens then? That could literally cause a global financial crisis. And if you look at exchanges, if you look at banks, what are they at the end of the day? They're a business. So if they don't have the money to fund their business, because we know there's no proof of reserves on these banks, you don't know where your money's being held, and you have to trust them with that. I think people will always end up flocking back to self-custody because I think at the end of the day, a lot of these businesses will fail if there is a global financial crisis.
Yeah,
Being your own bank is priority.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. On the topic of the centralized exchanges and the changes here, we do have some news within the last 30 minutes here that I'm going to pull up on the screen that Binance's $3.9 billion transfer could be a clue for the Department of Justice settlement. We've got here in the chat people discussing this. Do we think that this transaction of almost $4 billion is the payment that they need to give to the US Department of Justice to stop all of this rubbish that's been happening? Can they just pay this and continue? The discussion of it being $4 billion, a lot of people questioned whether they could afford to do this. I mean, they are a huge, huge company, but they've made this transaction from a cold wallet to a hot wallet within the last couple of hours, I believe. So maybe this is the end of all of this drama. We are seeing a talk about this later on today, I believe, from the Department of Justice. What time is that? Do you know?
That's at 3 p.m. So that's like 2 hours 45 approximately.
Yeah, 8 p.m. UK time. That took me far too long. So we'll see what's happening there. Hopefully we'll get more insights into that at that talk there. Let's move on now to the next topic of conversation from centralized exchanges. We're going to talk about the spot Bitcoin ETFs. We're going to see what's going on here. So we are seeing some controversial news about these ETFs. Many different analysts are saying different things. Some people are super bullish. Some people are super bearish. Some people are saying this is a buy the rumor, sell the news event. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a buy the rumor, sell the news?
You know, Bitcoin never ceases to shock me. If you remember Gary Gensler a few weeks ago, or was it a month ago? Time flies these days, where he was saying in the hearing that Bitcoin isn't a security, but he wouldn't say the 4 words, Bitcoin is a commodity, but basically said it without saying it. And people thought Bitcoin's gonna freaking pump. And it actually took like a whole dip that day. So I think Bitcoin does whatever it wants. We could have that ETF. You know, when we got that fake ETF approval from BlackRock, we saw Bitcoin pumped and immediately retracted. So, you know, Bitcoin has the power to go up, come back down, or crash and come back up. So it could be a buy the rumor, sell the news event, but also it could be the complete opposite. That's one I just can't answer because Bitcoin does what it wants. It always ends up resurrecting itself for sure.
I am still here. My camera will come on in just a second. We are seeing changes with these spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, I am a bit unsure whether it's a buy the rumor, sell the news. It is it's pumping a lot off the back of these rumors here. We are seeing that BlackRock highlighted some concerns. I will pull this up in the next article here. BlackRock did highlight some concerns around stablecoins when they made their initial spot Bitcoin ETF filing. Now, over the years, we have seen many people highlight that stablecoins can be seen as a weakness for the crypto space. Do you agree with this? Is regulation all we need to fix this issue? I tend to personally stay away from stable coins. I don't hold stable coins when I don't have to. We have seen problems with stable coins before. We did see Silicon Valley Bank shut down earlier this year in March, and that meant USDC depegged from the dollar, relies heavily on the banks. What do you think about stable coins?
Sorry, I choked there. So stable coins, I think, have a really bright future. But at the same time, I do see where you're coming from, that you are relying on these people. However, I think it's way better than something that the government controls because then there is no transparency and we can't fact check the government and be like, oh, okay, so how many of the US dollars are really backing this United States dollar or their CBDC? There's no clarification there, where I think with stable coins, we do have that clarification where we know how much reserves they have, where they're investing their money. And I just also don't like how centralized they are. I think basically stable coins are almost like CBDCs where they have the ability to freeze your account, freeze your money. And I think that's always a risk, as well as you brought up the depegging and the liquidity issues as well. I think in a few years, stable coins will be more prominent and a lot more liquid than they are now, because when the bull run really kicks off, there's going to be so much activity with DeFi, and people are going to want to enter the US dollar as well, considering all the inflation that's going on in other countries. I think stablecoins are a huge opportunity to actually bring hyper dollarization and give accessibility to the dollar to people that may not have bank accounts or the accessibility that other people do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think in terms of stablecoins' impact on Bitcoin, I think it will change over time, because over time, currently in the markets, people in crypto, a high percentage of people in crypto trade as well as just invest and hold in the long term. And over time, that will change. People will just, as the market grows, people will just be looking to invest. People aren't going to come into crypto and decide they are professional traders like people like to do now. So the percentage of people in crypto that trade will be lower, and therefore the stable coins will have a smaller impact on Bitcoin if anything does ever go wrong with them, I believe. So hopefully stuff like that will happen and things will improve. We are going to move on from the spot Bitcoin ETFs now and move on to talk about Bitcoin as legal tender in Argentina. There's some big news here. Before we do, though, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest crypto news. As I said, we do these live streams every single weekday, and so does Miss Teen Crypto over on her socials. So make sure to check her out if you have not seen her before, but I'm sure you have. Let's see what's going on here when it comes to Argentina. So Argentina saw a inflation rate of 140% in just 1 month last month. And we have now seen a pro-Bitcoin candidate become president in Argentina after somebody else dropped out, essentially. Now we are seeing he is looking to dollarize Argentina and bring the US dollar in and remove their currency to try and help with this hyperinflation they are seeing there. Now, we are seeing that he's looking to dollarize Argentina's economy. Do you think also making Bitcoin legal tender would be positive for a country with such high inflation rates? We've seen El Salvador make Bitcoin legal tender. Do you think that's the way to go for Argentina?
I think it could definitely bring hope, and I think it will definitely put them ahead. I think El Salvador endorsing Bitcoin, making it legal tender when they did was so smart because, of course, they were the first. And I think it's rewarded their country a lot. 90% increase in tourism. Their Bitcoin bonds are doing pretty well. Their bonds are up 70%. There's a lot of liquidity, a lot of entrepreneurs that want to come to the country now because they see that they're tech forward. And I think El Salvador could probably end up becoming a really powerful country if they continue, especially because they want to expand and they're talking to other countries about merging, all this crazy stuff. Concerning Argentina, I think it's devastating because I think at least 2/5 of the country is in poverty, and that's constantly increasing. If you see videos of this people in the street, they're literally ripping up their pesos and throwing them in the air like confetti, making bracelets, jewelry, like all this crazy stuff out of it because it's worthless. And I think people didn't think that an economy like Argentina could go down the toilet so fast. But when you have central bankers, when you have people that are in control of the financial system and you have no say in it, they could do whatever they want. And of course, the people with the money have the power. So they get to stay on top. They get to make sure they live luxury. And we're the ones that are struggling every single day, which I think this new president saying, okay, let's dollarize the economy, I think is smart because even though the dollar is dwindling in value every single day, it's a lot more stable than the peso. I think if he stabilizes the economy with the US dollar, then he could bring in Bitcoin. It'll be like a double freaking whammy. And I think the economy will be really happy, especially because you see in these kind of not, I wouldn't say third world, but I would like Argentina, a lot of other places, they're adopting Bitcoin because they see that they could one, own something, and two, escape the inflation. And even though Bitcoin could go up a few percent, go down a few percent, it's a lot more stable than 100 something% inflation. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I completely agree that. I think stabilizing the economy first with the dollar would be the way to go before bringing in Bitcoin. But bringing in Bitcoin could be a massive win. We've seen it's been
Yep.
a win for El Salvador. Unfortunately, in El Salvador, we haven't seen too much adoption for people that actually live there. I can't get onto this article now. Essentially, what it was saying was only 20% of companies in El Salvador are actually adopting Bitcoin and allowing purchasing Bitcoin, even though it has become a legal tender and many people have chosen not to use Bitcoin. El Salvador did do a big push when they first made Bitcoin a legal tender, and they basically gave people about 1% of the average salary in El Salvador. It was about, I don't know how many dollars it was, but it was something about 1% of their average salary if people signed up to a government-backed Bitcoin or cryptocurrency wallet, trying to push people into Bitcoin. And loads of people did choose to do that. But as soon as they had signed up and got their free Bitcoin, they kind of stopped using it again and weren't interested again. And we've seen nearly no, as this article said, a very, very small amount of people actually signing up to that cryptocurrency wallet in the year following. So we have just seen them basically take advantage of that free Bitcoin and then not choose to adopt it. Could we see this again in Argentina if they choose to adopt Bitcoin? I think with the adoption of Bitcoin as a legal tender, it's great. And as you said, it can improve tourism and all the rest of that stuff. But as somebody that's just a day-to-day person, and if your president says, look, we're bringing in Bitcoin, you're going to be scared from that. People are going to be worried about that.
Yeah, I think it's also something that's very new and something that people aren't used to, and it's a little bit of a learning curve. I do see in El Salvador, they really are pushing for the younger generation, where at schools it's a part of their curriculum now. So they're raising these kids on blockchain, which again is a huge advantage. I think for the majority of the country, it's something like, oh, what's this Bitcoin stuff? Like, how do I use it? I think there is a slight learning curve there, but also I think the bear market didn't help us that much either, because when El Salvador announced Bitcoin as legal tender, there was so much hype around the space, and then it was kind of like where we had a little bit of a break there and a lull with Bitcoin. But I think eventually that'll increase like exponentially.
Yeah, and I think these companies that get these countries that choose to make Bitcoin a legal tender or are pro Bitcoin will be better off in the long run as well. That is really important. And first mover advantage is not something that you should ignore here. Lee says in the chat, at least Miss Teen Crypto isn't doing her attempt at a British accent. Do you want to present that to us here on the live stream?
I don't know if I can do that. Like, can you give me like a rundown? Like, can you do an American accent?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely.
You can't?
Awful.
I feel like it's so much easier for like Brits to do to do an American accent than like for me to do your accent.
I don't think so.
Try your American girl accent.
I wish I never started this conversation now.
like I don't know. Like, I don't know how to what's like a good line that you guys say that I could try?
My accent's strong northern. I'd go for a London accent, like say I'd like a scone and a cup of tea.
I like a scone and a cup of tea. Is that good?
That was really good.
So
That
bad.
was really good. I'm impressed. Give the video a like for that English accent there.
For my crumpet.
Let's take a look at what's going on. Back to crypto. Let's take a look at what's going on in the general market now. See what's happening here. We have had a really positive announcement from ARK Invest CEO Kathy Woods. She has said that crypto's ecosystem could be worth $25 trillion by 2030. Now, this is a huge prediction here. What is your long-term expectations for the market?
My long-term expectations are fine. They're dandy. I'm so excited for Bitcoin. I'm so excited for crypto. It's just something that's like undeniable. It's inevitable. We know institutions are looking at it. They're like, oh, Bitcoin and ETH ETFs. Like, wait till the other ETFs come out, especially Grayscale too, because if you listen to the CEO, I think it was a few months ago where he was talking about, I think it was August. He was on an interview and he was saying that basically Gary Gensler is scared to open Pandora's box of the ETFs because not only does GBTC become a spot Bitcoin ETF, but they want all of their trust to become ETFs as well. So that includes Litecoin, Solana, Zcash, and just an endless slew of digital assets. So I think crypto as a whole has such a bright future. There's going to be a lot of different apps built, and this is like kind of the stone age of crypto where like we started establishing wallets. If you guys didn't know, like the BIP39 standard, which is like what generates your seed phrases, that didn't even come out till like 2014. So not even 10 years ago did we have self-custody that was really accessible and easy. We barely had Coinbase. We barely had good exchanges. Now look at us now. We have DeFi. We have just a bunch of good wallets, a bunch of good applications, exchanges, and different use cases for digital assets, like spewing into NFTs and like digital identity data. This is so deep. And we're going to get to the point where a lot of the things that we're using, like social media, voting, real estate deeds, your car, it's going to be tokenized. It's going to be digital. So this space has so much room to run. We didn't even scratch the surface. I think not even 1% or less than 5% of the world owns Bitcoin right now. And look how much of a difference it's made. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there's some big changes coming here, and I think that leads on quite nicely to the next question. We are going to talk about Bitcoin halving in just a second, but what we're seeing right now, let's pull up the Bitcoin chart here, is Bitcoin's been in these 4-year cycles. We've got them here for however, since 2008. And what we are seeing here is there's a lot of talk here on how long these 4-year cycles can go on for. We can't just print millionaires every 4 years. That's just not how the markets work. It then becomes too easy. Things will change, and we're not going to have these incredible bull runs forever, indefinitely. How long do you think these bull runs are going to last? How many more bull runs do you think we're going to get? And what happens then? What happens next?
I think it really depends on how the next 2 years goes, because I think, again, like we have this global financial crisis that we're just like, it's like when you scrape your knee, you put that Band-Aid on and, the scrape is fresh. So like it's still bleeding through the Band-Aid. Like the Band-Aid's not really doing anything for you, dude. It's the same exact thing that what's going on now. Oh, this bank is saved. Oh, we're just going to print more money and send it here, send it there. Like it doesn't work that way. There's obviously going to be consequences paid, which is why you see them fighting crypto, which is why you see CBDCs coming out of the woodworks, so that way they could print and create their own magic internet money to control us all. So yeah, I'm not, I just think that this space is just, it has a lot of work to do, but it's also something that is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And I think there's a lot of potential for this market. I think in the next bull market, we've got institutional investors coming in that can massively change the space. One thing I'm really cautious about, though, is in the last bull market, there were so many people shouting that this was going to be a hyper bull market and the bull market was going to last forever. And I'm very cautious about getting caught up in that kind of mentality for this next bull market. But I'm also very cautious that I'm going to stick to my old ways of being in these 4-year cycles, and these institutions are just going to run it like we've never seen before. So it's very hard to find some middle ground there.
Yeah, I think you just have to have your bullish bearish case scenario, keep calm, hodl on, see how the banking crisis goes, and just make sure you like keep your eyes peeled. Because I know everyone watches crypto, but like I look up bank news every morning because you really see who's in trouble, who's doing what, where money is being transferred. So keep up with the financial crisis and you could go from there. Because again, at the end of the day, everything is a business, including the banking system. And you want to make sure that you're not going to fall at the knees of a business when they shut down your bank tomorrow and you go there and they say you can't have your money and your app is frozen and because we don't have money in there. Like, you need to have money that belongs to you. You need to be your own bank. And especially with programmability, especially with the banking system, you see the discrimination that happens now. So you cannot let yourself fall into that where you're relying on somebody else to let you live.
Yeah,
It's
I
scary.
completely agree. And on that token, we have seen, where was I going to go with that point then? It's gone out my brain. It'll come back to me in a minute. What we've seen here is the Bitcoin halvings have been going on and on and on. And I've just calculated them before we came onto today's stream. The distance between previous lows for the bear markets and the next halving. And this low of $16,000 lines up pretty nicely with previous cycles. And it is hinting that we could be on our way to a bull market. What price are you looking at for Bitcoin? I don't want to say too much prices. What's your outlook for Bitcoin, timeframes for Bitcoin? I personally work off timeframes more than I do price. I like to look at the previous cycles in terms of timings and kind of mirror that onto the current markets. I don't like to look at like, this is my Bitcoin price prediction for the bull market. That's just not my thing. I don't know if it's yours. But what's your kind of outlook for Bitcoin in the next couple of years?
I don't do price predictions. I feel like that gets people in like a really bad like spot where you're wrong, and then everyone takes a clip of you and posts it on Twitter, and then you're like, "But I didn't mean it." So yeah, like I think Bitcoin is just going to prosper. Like I said, the inevitability is undeniable. People know where Bitcoin is headed. They understand where the technology is coming from, and I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what price Bitcoin is, as long as you're going back to that premise of like a decentralized financial ecosystem, peer-to-peer transactions. At that point, nothing else matters.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we will be seeing some big changes.
I don't know if this is this new? It says Binance founder CZ agrees to step down and pleads guilty.
Oh my gosh, let's take a look at the
Is
price
this
of
true?
Bitcoin quickly, first of all, and see
Hold
what's
on.
happening here.
Wall Street Journal. Hold on. I think we might be
Bitcoin,
breaking news.
yeah, Bitcoin is very, very volatile right now.
Oh,
Let's
shoot.
see if we can find out what we were going to close off today's stream in a minute, but maybe we'll have to discuss this story quickly first and see what's going on. Let's see what's going on here. Let's pull this up. Big news
I'm
of the
checking
day.
BNB. Ooh, BNB retraced big time. It was at 271 and now it's at 254. Ooh, uh-oh.
Big changes. I always love it when big news comes in when you're on a live stream because you get to see what's going on live in time. Let's see what's going on here. We are seeing CZ resigns as Binance CEO, pleads guilty to violating criminal anti-money laundering requirements. Binance agrees to pay $4.3 billion to settle case with US government. Now, we have just seen them transact $3.9 billion in a news article earlier today. How is this going to impact Bitcoin? Let's take a look at this on the 1 minute chart. It's looking volatile. Maybe, I mean, there has been a lot of FUD around Binance in this bull market. Maybe this is what we needed to get rid of that FUD. What do you think about this?
I'm a little shook. I'm a little shook, Jess. Like, what is going on? Because this is like the thing. I've seen like shots fired at CZ since the whole FTX thing went down. They blamed him for it, and still, I haven't seen one thing that says like, okay, Binance is guilty. Granted, I always say we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Whoa, man. Like, I just want to know why he stepped down, and is this because he keeps getting attacked, and this is his way of like detaching himself from the situation, or he actually did some no-nos? I don't know. I don't know.
Evan in the chat says 4, which is CZ's number for ignore the FUD. But we're looking here. Bitcoin isn't moving, to be honest. I would have expected a lot worse of a dump than this, to be perfectly honest. We're on the 1 minute chart. Yes, it's moving down, but I would have expected it a lot quicker than this. What we're seeing here is Bitcoin is at $37,130. It was at $37,525. Maybe it's now kicking in. Yep, now it's moving down at the speed I expected. Big changes here. I mean, with Binance, this was quite a big fear during the bear market. There was a lot of worry about what was going to happen with Binance, what would happen to Bitcoin if something went wrong with Binance. And now we're seeing some changes, but there was a worse scenario that could have come off the back of this. If we can settle this with money, that's the best case scenario for crypto and Binance and Bitcoin. The worst case scenario is the end of Binance, and it doesn't look like we're seeing that. So we can find some positives in here somewhere. Keeping a very close eye on Bitcoin right now. I will not be trading this because it is very, very volatile in all kinds of directions. I think, yeah, I don't really have much more to say on this until we do a little bit more research on this.
I gotta look into it. I cannot believe like what's going on here because damn CZ, what are you doing, dude? What happened? Oh my gosh,
Let's see if we can pull up a story.
I think the Wall Street Journal put something out like 10 minutes ago. I had it on my phone. I don't have my computer.
Let's see what's going on. Oh, I can't see anything. Here we go. Breaking news here. Binance CZ pleads guilty to violating anti-money laundering requirements. CZ plans to plead guilty to violating US anti-money laundering requirements and will reportedly step down as the CEO of the Binance crypto exchange. The Department of Justice prepares to announce that it secured a $4.3 billion settlement with the company. And we are seeing CZ intends to plead guilty to several charges levied by the Department of Justice. He's scheduled to appear in a federal court in Seattle Tuesday afternoon. That is very soon. Where he will enter his plea, and the journal said. The report also indicates that he will plead guilty to one criminal charge. Although the deal would allow CZ to retain his majority stake in Binance, he wouldn't be allowed to hold an executive position at the company. Now this is interesting.
Wow.
This is a very big charge and a very big change, but I don't think this is a threat to crypto in any way. And that was my big worry when it came to Binance. Binance is a massive centralized exchange. It leads the space, and I was worried that if any of this FUD was true, any of these reports that they were doing anything wrong was true, could really damage Bitcoin and its reputation. But this seems to be quite contained in the way that if CZ pleads guilty and pays this charge, we can eventually move on here. This doesn't seem to be impacting Bitcoin in a way that it could have done, I personally think. Let's continue through this article, though. The Wall Street Journal reports that his plea deal won't affect pending litigation with the US SEC, as it does not include a settlement for the case brought against Binance by the commission in June. Yeah, what do you think about this? I want to say I'm quite relieved that this is the outcome from there could have been a much worse situation, because we've all been fingers crossed hoping that they weren't doing anything wrong, but now they are. To see that he can just take the full step back and let somebody else continue to push Binance up, I think that's the best case scenario out of a worst case happening.
I would probably have to agree with you. Like, I just can't believe, like, my man CZ, like, what happened to you? Like, because he was like so, like, you know, he was so good. It was like he said good stuff, and it was just like, I guess everyone does, right? But he was just like, I think he did so much good for the space, and he brought so much adoption to so many different countries that wouldn't have even gave a damn about crypto if he actually didn't go there. Like, CZ was basically like the crypto president, visiting more country than our president was, and just speaking to countless world leaders. Like, this man barely slept. So the fact that like he's gonna plead guilty to a criminal charge, one, I want to know what that is, and two, like, how long has this been going on? Because we have seen, like, honestly, in the past, like, I've been around on Twitter for almost 4 years now. I've seen a lot of people with Binance, like, associated, like one female, I think she was the CEO of Binance US. She just disappeared. Like, there's like a lot of people that straight up disappeared that I even spoke to. So I would like to know, like, what was actually really happening behind Binance. And this might be the beginning of a lot of uncoverings that maybe we didn't want to see. And I'm very upset about it. Like, this is a big player that's really, it's going to hurt the space, I think, a little bit in terms of adoption. And the banks are going to step in now, Jess. The banks are going to step in.
Yeah, I think that is a really important point as well. CZ was seen as like a leader in the space. We've already had the problems with FTX this year. My concerns around FTX last year falling was that people that in the bull market, FOMO comes in, excitement comes in, but people get scared then because they've learned that centralized exchanges aren't trustworthy from FTX, that because it's being made an example of on all of the mainstream media, people that don't know about cryptocurrency know about FTX. So I think that would have been a problem alone for the bull market for adoption, because people would have just thought, I don't have time to research it. I know some of these exchanges aren't safe. I'm not even going to try. And now we're seeing problems with Binance as well. This will undoubtedly reach mainstream media and create more fear in those retail investors that will be joining the space in a bull market. And I just think to have another leader in the space be painted in a bad way because they've been doing things illegally is just another problem to add to the list for 2022 and 2023. Not the news we wanted to see today. We were hoping we'd get a breakout of that $38,000 level, but I don't think that's imminent on the back of this news here. Bitcoin is moving, I really don't think it's as bad as I would have expected it to be perfectly honest.
I mean, we still have the DOJ meeting later too, so I don't know. It could be like a double, like, it could be a mess. It could be a mess. I hope it's not.
Very volatile. Very, very volatile this afternoon. Make sure to stay tuned for that. There is a Department of Justice meeting about Binance and what's going on here. So maybe we'll get more stuff uncovered there. As you say, I think we are going to see more things uncovered within the next couple of days and weeks. But I think that's all we have for today's stream. I'm going to let Randy go and maybe make some trades, maybe step away, do some more research into this story. Crazy story that's come out. I think we all need a few minutes to digest this. But thank you very much, Randy, for joining us on today's stream. We very much appreciate it. And we hope you have enjoyed.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Jess. It was like really great to talk to you. And please, guys, if you're like from my channel, please follow and subscribe. Follow Jess, give her love because we need more women in this space. And she's been like absolutely killing the game. And we need to show like a lot more love to Jess. And crypto savings expert, shout out to Jordan Martini guy. He's a G as well. Hope to have him back on my channel again soon. But thank you so much, Jess. Shout out to the fam. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 9:45 a.m. Daily Zest. Yay.
Make sure to go to Miss Teen Crypto on Twitter, on YouTube, and check them out. She does live streams every single day as well, and they are very, very informative. So make sure to check them out. And thank you very much to everybody who has donated a super chat in today's stream. We very much appreciate it. The highest ones ever here on Crypto Saving Expert. And thank you for those that have come over from Randy's channel. That's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for watching, and we will be back here tomorrow here on Crypto Saving Expert and on Miss Teen Crypto. Thank you, and goodbye. And we